Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Mark Janish, your host for the November 8th, 2019 edition of the From the Bench podcast. I'm Mark Janish, your host. Any and all podcasts can be heard on Stitcher, Libsyn, and or Spotify radio. If you'd like to take advantage of those platforms, you can hear what I've said in the past and what I'm saying, have said currently. This podcast is going to exclusively be for my Week 10 NFL picks. Lots going on in the world of sports between college basketball getting underway, the college football season heading into the home stretch in the next month or so, ready for the college football national championship, something that won't be discussed in this podcast. But also, we want to continue to let you know that accessmediaglobal.com is available to you. If you'd like to support this podcast or accessmediaglobal.com, you can go ahead and click on the donate buttons that are on the upper right-hand side of the home page. Airtime costs money. This is a labor of love, but if you feel that you want to support this podcast and help keep it going, you can certainly do that. I have some other projects that I'll be getting into in 2020, which I will not announce now, but I did want to go ahead and mention that you can support the podcast over Libsyn, Stitcher, or Spotify if you would like. So that's the way you do it. Go to accessmediaglobal.com, click on the donate buttons. All the icons you need regarding your credit or debit cards are there. Appreciate it. I want to say thank you to everybody who supported me over the years. Still have some energy with the podcast, so we're going to continue to keep things going. LSU and Alabama this week in college football. That'll be one of the games I'm watching right at this point in time. Also, UC Santa Barbara, the local D1 mid-major, is going down the freeway, probably I-10 to the 405 over to Westwood. There on the campus of UCLA, the Nell and John Wooden Memorial Court at Pauley Pavilion. They'll be playing UCLA at 4 p.m. UCLA opened with Long Beach State, and of course UC Santa Barbara opened with a win at the Thunderdome on the campus of UC Santa Barbara, 86 to, I believe, 62 win for UC Santa Barbara. Joe Pasternak off of the coaching tree of Sean Miller out of Arizona, 100 wins in his collegiate career, 46-19 as a Gaucho head coach heading into his third year. So that'll be 4 p.m. If you want to see that and you have access to the Pac-12 network at any point, you can go ahead and see that at 4 p.m. I'll have a full recap on the website. And I also wanted to let you know I'll be looking at this idea of load management in the NBA. I'm going to be posting something on that here within the next couple of days. But you do have a column on LeBron James. You do have podcasts from Richard Deitch. And you also have the Around the NFL podcast available to you. I may post another edition of that today. Not sure about what I want to do there. But let's go ahead and look at the Week 10 over-unders, odds, point spreads, etc., etc. Now, I just do this for fun. I do and have been known to place a few bets on some games over the years, but want to present to you if this is something you enjoy, which I believe it is. I'm getting some nice feedback on this particular aspect of the podcast. NFL Week 10 odds. Let's take a look at the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tennessee Titans. Patrick Mahomes supposed to play. Announced today by Andy Reid that he is going to play this weekend. That'll be the Titans and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Titans are favored by 6. The over-under is 48. This one, I probably wouldn't necessarily bet. Myself. Not sure. Matt Moore has done a great job so far as his performances, even though he lost to Green Bay and won last week. But if I had to, I'd take Kansas City and the under at 48. I don't think the Tennessee Titans, with problems with Marcus Mariota and their overall scheme of things, I think I would take Kansas City to win and the under. The surprising Buffalo Bills facing the hapless Cleveland Browns, which goes to show you that preseason hype doesn't necessarily translate to wins, but Buffalo at Cleveland. Cleveland is favored by 3. The over-under is 40. I'm probably going to go ahead and take the over and the Bills for a road win at Cleveland. The Arizona Cardinals and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, after a disappointing loss in Seattle last week, 40-34 in overtime, with a Russell Wilson drive to the end zone, clinching that for Seattle. Kyler Murray is going to be going into Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is favored by 4.5. The over-under is 52. I probably go ahead and take the under at this point. I probably go ahead and favor Tampa Bay only because it's a Tampa Bay home game. Now, this next game is going to be interesting for all you regional, local, and regional individuals throughout the New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, tri-state area, the New York Giants and the New York Jets. The Jets are favored by 2.5. Pat Shurmur versus Adam Gase. I'm not sure Adam Gase should have been granted this head coaching opportunity. The Jets are playing okay. They do have a quality win versus the Dallas Cowboys, who we'll mention in just a few moments. But the Giants and the Jets. The problem that I see with the Giants right now is Daniel Jones, the up-and-coming Daniel Jones, the rookie, is having trouble hanging on to the ball as far as interceptions and fumbles. So as soon as he gets that squared away, I would go ahead and probably take the Jets. I just think Sam Darnold's a little ahead of the fair-haired Daniel Jones, the heir apparent to Eli Manning, of course. Eli Manning in the same draft class as Phillip Rivers. And we all know that draft day trade changed the destiny of a couple of teams that we know of, as far as the Giants and the Chargers. The Jets are favored by 2.5. The over-under is 44.5. The saving grace for the New York Giants, of course, is Saquon Barkley. And I'm not sure about the Giants' defense. The Giants' defensive woes, I believe, will continue. So take the Jets, take the points, and take the under at 44.5. Go ahead and take the Jets and the under. Jets favored by 2.5 once again, and the over-under is 44.5. The Ravens and the hapless Cincinnati Bengals. 0-8 right now. All right. Andy Dalton. Believe Andy Dalton's being benched in favor of a guy named Finley this week. Cincinnati fans, you need hope right now. You don't have it. Okay. You are in the midst of another poor season in the Queen City of Cincinnati, unfortunately. 44.5 is the over-under. I would take the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. I think the Ravens are a great team, of course. They've had some quality wins against Seattle and against the shellacking they put on New England, 37-20. Speaks volumes as to their elevation in the AFC. I also think that Uh, Lamar Jackson has improved himself as a pocket passer going forward. And it's almost like Lamar Jackson, if you were to remember, if you can remember those days when Michael Vick was in his prime running around with the Atlanta Falcons, it's almost like you have an RPO, run pass option. Although I do know and am aware that Lamar Jackson has shown and wanted to be more of a pocket passer in recent games, and he's doing a good job of that. Go ahead and take the Ravens and the points and take the over. This game is liable to be a blowout for the Ravens. Earl Thomas, former Seattle Seahawk, playing safety now on the outside for Baltimore, doing a great job. And, of course, Baltimore's vaunted defense is right there, and defense always travels. It doesn't always win games, but it always gives you an opportunity by keeping the score low. I don't think Cincinnati's going to get over 14 points in this game. Once again, take the Ravens and the points and the over at 44.5. The Lions and the Bears. Matthew Stafford having a great season so far. But then again, on the other side of that, the Chicago Bears are missing Nick Fangio, a defensive offensive coordinator, who went to Denver to become the head coach. The Bears are favored by 2.5, only because it's a home game, I believe. 41.5 is the over-under. Go ahead and take the Lions in this game. Matthew Stafford, a little bit overpaid as far as his salary goes, but he's like a Kirk Cousins in the sense that he's going to fill a stat sheet, and the Lions are improving slowly but surely under Matt Patricia, former Patriot coach. Anyway, go ahead and take the Lions in this game for a win in Chicago. Bears favored by 2.5. Go ahead and take the over at 41.5 and take the points, but take the Lions in an upset in Chicago. The Miami Dolphins, a 26-18 win over the New York Jets, the hapless Jets, who I've already mentioned. Miami at Indianapolis. I'm not sure the status of Jacoby Brissett, so I would go ahead and take Indianapolis to win this game. I wouldn't necessarily take the points at 10.5, but I would definitely take the over at 44. The Carolina Panthers and the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are favored at Lambeau by 5.5 points. The over-under is 47. I would go ahead and take Green Bay in this game. The over is 47. Probably take the over in this at this point. Who's that? Brandon Allen back behind center now that Cam Newton has been put on IR with a foot injury. I don't necessarily expect to see him until next year or very, very late in the season, maybe week 16 or 17. Go ahead and take the Packers at Lambeau. They're favored by 5.5. Take the over at 47. The Rams and the Steelers. Aaron Donald returns to the scene of his collegiate crimes. He was matriculated at the University of Pittsburgh. This is his first time back in his old haunts as far as that goes in 6 seasons in Los Angeles. Los Angeles and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is favored by 3.5. The over-under is 44. For Los Angeles, the problems in Los Angeles not only extend into the defensive backfield with the trades they've made to acquire Jalen Ramsey and to clear cap space. That's all well and good, but once again, I want to make a point here that there have been multiple changes due to injury, a little attrition on the offensive line. So I'm not sure yet on Jared Goff. Jared Goff seems to me to not be a flashy guy, but he seems to be a system guy. The guys he likes to go to are Cooper Kupp, former Eastern Washington Eagle, having a great year, a great receiving year after tearing his knee up and having surgery. Good to see Cooper Kupp being able to catch the ball from Jared Goff. But I don't know that I give Jared Goff that money as far as his $110 million contract, something along that line. They gave him a lot of money, folks. I mean, a serious boatload of cash. Pittsburgh, I think this might be a trap game for Los Angeles. I have to give credit to Mike Tomlin, one of the greater coaches in the league, as far as all that he's lost between Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, all this stuff. Then he loses Roethlisberger. He loses Mason Rudolph for a game. Mason Rudolph is back at under center for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is 4-4. In this game, they're favored by 3.5 points. I probably take the over at 44. I think this is a pick'em game, but I have to say I would favor the Steelers to win at Heinz Field. Minnesota and Dallas, the night game on NBC, the NBC television network in the United States. Minnesota 6-3, Dallas 5-3. Over under is 47.5. The Cowboys are in Dallas, Jerry World. I think, as I said earlier, that Kirk Cousins is more of a guy who's going to fill a stat sheet for you. As far as Dak Prescott, I'm not sold on Dak Prescott as a winner. Amari Cooper will not be playing, by the way. Those of you who participate in fantasy football, that is, he will not be available. The key for Dallas is whether they're going to feed Ezekiel Elliott, establish that running game, of course. They have an excellent defense. They have an excellent offensive line. I'm not saying anything about that, but it's been up and down for Dallas at this particular point. So they're the focus. Minnesota, I'm going to go ahead and take the Minnesota Vikings in an upset. The over-under is 47.5. So that should be a game, a Sunday night game, and the that one would want to record or maybe DVR that game if you're not available at that particular time. Monday, Veterans Day. Seattle at San Francisco. San Francisco and that defense favored by 6. The over-under is 47. I'm not sure that Jimmy Garoppolo is nothing but a game manager, but with that defense, you're definitely going to encounter some problems. Seattle's going to want to run the ball with Chris Carson and C.J. Prosise and Rashard Penny. Now, one of the things I just want to let everybody know, tracking with the Seahawks over the last 20 years as a resident and a fan of Seattle for that long, Pete Carroll's going to want to run the ball. What does this do? Keeps Jimmy Garoppolo off the field. Go ahead, and I wouldn't take the 6. I think 6 is too high. I think this is going to be a very close game. All the games since San Francisco and Seattle have been battling in division are relatively close, a field goal or less in that area over the last 5 or 6 years. I go ahead and take Russell Wilson in an upset of Jimmy Garoppolo based on the running game. If the running game's there, Seattle's going to win this game hands down. I take the over at 47. I would not, however, in this case, take the points at 6. I think 3 would be more reasonable, but that lets me know Vegas is thinking, hey, the defense of the 49ers, is going to win a lot of games. And, of course, it's always nice and flashy because they are 8-0. I want to go ahead and before I leave here today, I want to say thank you for the service of the United States military and all veterans who are listening to me right now. You are appreciated, and we appreciate your service. You provide an invaluable, you and your families, and all the sacrifices that have been made over the years so we can enjoy the holiday and enjoy sports and in all the good things that the United States has to offer. One of them is the sporting community. And on that note, I just want to wish everyone a happy Veterans Day. We're going to go ahead. We're going to be back next week. Next week's going to be a little busy for me, but we'll talk perhaps on Tuesday or Wednesday regarding the Monday night game. And we'll take a deeper dive into Seattle, and we'll see how San Francisco represents themselves on the Monday night, November 11th. For the From the Bench podcast, accessmediaglobal.com, my parent website. I'm Mark Janish, your host. You can once again listen to Libsyn, Stitcher, and Spotify for any episodes you would like to listen to on those platforms. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great weekend. We'll be looking at LSU and Alabama this week, sporting-wise, as far as individual events. We'll also be looking at Michigan State and Binghamton on the Big Ten Network, if you have access to that. We're also going to be looking at UC Santa Barbara in game number 2 against UCLA. For the From the Bench podcast, I'm your host, Mark Janish, wishing you a very pleasant day and a very pleasant weekend. And until next time, take care, everyone. Thanks for listening.